Welcome to Impact by DIFFA Dallas, the official podcast of the Dallas chapter of the Design Industries Foundation Fighting AIDS. We'll share valuable info about the fight against HIV and AIDS, what our organization is doing to assist those in our community, and most importantly, how you can help us make a real impact.
Welcome to Impact. I'm Victoria Snee, your host for today's episode, and what a thrill to have with me in studio today, the House of DIFFA production dream team. We have Brian Brothers, Rhonda Sargent-Chambers, and Densil Adams. These are the folks, you see them at the end of the stage, at the end of the night, of course, to take their well-deserved bow, but these are the ones that are behind the scenes creating all of the magic. So thank you all so much for being here. This is such a thrill. We are just so excited, and we'll talk, of course, about Extravaganza, our 30th anniversary House of DIFFA show. But I wanted to start with each of you, your history with DIFFA and how you really became a part of the organization and how that began for you. So since you're the closest here in the hot seat next to me, Brian, we'll start with you and kind of your history with DIFFA.
Sure. I was fortunate enough to be a part of it, I believe in its second year. Rhonda, you might know better than I do, but it was 1988. I had just joined, had my first job in production with a company called First Tuesday. And the event was at the Infomart, and we went over and we covered it, shot it video-wise and everything, and it was just the craziest thing I've ever seen at that point, and I just remember Jan Strimple with her, I think it was Ralph Lauren, right, with the horse heads and all the mane, and her shaking her shoulders and all of that, and I thought, wow, this is what I want to be a part of,
Sure.
And from there, we through First Tuesday, we became a bit more active, creating video rolls for it, actually becoming the technical production company for it. And then when I left that company and started Planet in '94, in '95, Planet started becoming the technical and production company for it, and from there we've been a part of every event except for 2014 since. So
wow, since 1988.
Since 1988.
That's incredible.
It's pretty crazy, but that's when the disease was at the forefront, of course, and none of us understood it, but we were losing friends and colleagues and peers, and we all wanted to do what we could to help find a solution.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. And Rhonda, what about you? When did you first hear of DIFFA, and when did you become involved?
The very first year. The Infomart was still, being built. I think it was a hard hat, and we were in the basement, and it was like our first event. And I was modeling with Kim Dawson at the time. And that kind of, all of us have come in different capacities over the years. And then from that point, I ended up joining the board, served 6-year term. I chaired in 2003, La Familia, and then my first year to coordinate was 2001. So,
wow! So again, another long history.
Yes,
with the organization. And what about for you, Densil?
Well, for me, it began in the late '80s, early '90s as talent. I was a dancer, and as a starving artist at the time, that was my way to give back because I wasn't able to give monetarily. So I was very honored, to be a part of it. And then in '96, Jan called and said, would you like to choreograph the collection? This is what it was known as then, the Dallas collection. And I was like, oh, absolutely. So then that was my first year to work with Brian in '96. And I had known Rhonda for years, as a model. And I served on the board as well in the late '90s, early 2000s for 6 years, and chaired the 15th anniversary. And then the three of us came together in 2014 for the 25th as the creative team. So.
And really, you've taken it since then, since that year on until now. Yes. So you've been together as a team for 5 years. 5 years. Mm-hmm. When you think back to those shows in the 80s that you were a part of, and you see it now, there's 1,500 people minimum, every year to come. What were the crowds like then? Was it anything like it is today?
Yeah, I think so. I think, the community as a whole has always supported the organization. Obviously, it's grown, and its allure and its mystique has grown. But I think it's always had great support.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It really has. It really has. It's always been well attended. The anniversaries, I remember that large one we had in the Trinity Ballroom. Was that 15th?
Well, we started in the Trinity in 2011. Oh, actually, no, we did before that, 2005.
Yeah.
2010, we did not have a show. That's when there was going to be.
See, it takes three of us to keep all
This
this
is why we work together so well. You're seeing it now.
We have to help each other.
Yeah.
You have a lot of history.
Yeah. Well, what about in terms of the show and the production? When you think back to that time too. I mean, how has that evolved? And what we're going to go into, because I'm so interested to know. I'm on the board as well, which has been such an incredible experience. But knowing what kind of goes into it. But how has the show itself changed and the event itself?
That's a good question.
That is a very good question.
I could get it started. That's all right. I will say this is for all of us involved, whether it's the three of us, Jan Strimple, any of the makeup artists and hairstylists, or any of the people involved, we've had the amazing opportunity to grow and DIFFA be our training ground in so many ways. And outside of that, it allows us to be creative outside of our normal ability to be creative, whether it's even a fashion event or a corporate event or anything. We can really push the envelope and do all those twisted little weird things we thought we'd never be able to do and put it on stage and get actually a great reception for it. So as far as it evolving, technically for me to speak, the way the industry has changed as far as moving lights and LED walls, projection, and all those things. It started so small and so basic on what we could afford in the day, earlier days, where it was more hard sets, and theatricality was a part of it, if that's a word. But what we're able to do now technically has really pushed the envelope, and we always try to bring new technology to every event.
Yeah. The three of us, we do have separate duties, but we cross over, the three of us, so much in the conceptualization process, making sure that this is an experiential event. For me, back of house, I have usually 350 people. Hair, makeup, body painting, costumes, headdresses. It goes on and on and on. And I think for me, what's changed is that there are a lot of one-off models, very, very specific looks, very different, that they would not show up in the show, as to where years ago we used to try to use these models as many times with changes backstage very quickly. And, the volunteer base is huge. It's huge front of house and it's huge back of house. Dancers, we have everyone back there.
And how, I think this is a good opportunity too to explain what each of you is responsible for. So Rhonda, models, you said back of house, you're also in charge of coordinating volunteers, hair and makeup.
Volunteers backstage for myself would be hair, makeup, costumes, headdresses, body painting, all of the artists, all of the models. The dancer talent pool comes from Densil, but they're still back with me, backstage. So, yeah. It's a controlled chaos at its finest.
It always is, right? I feel like with everything.
I work directly with the talent, from casting to rehearsing to staging to blocking. Prior to the show, about 3 weeks out, we start the dancer rehearsal. And those dancers donate their time, endless hours, and their talent, and they all love to be a part of it. So after one show, they'll be like, remember, I'm available next year. And I'm like, oh, I've got it down. Of course you will. But I feel like we've been able to texture and, bring more to the House of DIFFA with talent, with models on stage and special effects and special performances. Example, Gwendolyn Murphy, who is amazing, and is now a fixture kind of in the show and kind of expected. So we've been able to enhance it, I think, greatly.
There's so much talent in North Texas. And we even do have some models that travel, to come in for the event. But the talent in North Texas is spectacular. We can find anything we need right here in our own backyard.
Which I think is amazing.
Yes.
I think it's so great that you really do pull from, what's here and giving those, models and performers the opportunity to be a part of DIFFA. It's amazing.
And not only the models and performers, but the hair and makeup artists, all the technical aspects also. We all three of us have amazing teams that come together and create just a stunning.
All volunteering back there. Tony and Guy has a full hair team. There are 26 another hair team. There's a makeup team of 26. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
Wardrobe.
And wardrobe and everything.
Pieces,
It's crazy.
It's a village. It's a
Yeah.
large village.
It's like giving birth to another child,
and it's-
actually.
And it's important to us too at the end. That's why we have everyone backstage walk, because we want the audience to see
I
wow,
love
that
you
many
do that.
people
I
were
love
back
seeing-
there.
Yeah, and it's
you know?
amazing. And you don't, as an audience member, you don't have any clue until you see
don't.
all of these people pouring down the
For the
runway, and you're
finale,
like, oh
yeah.
my
And it's
gosh.
hundreds, you know, and
Yeah.
they're so, thrilled, to be
Sure.
there and to have that moment. So it's wonderful.
The dressers, everyone walks in the finale. Everyone.
And that's really only 2/3 of the total production team, because what they don't see is the other 150 people who are behind the scenes, who stage the event and put it all together. So
'Cause that's
really
what you
there's
and your team are
right,
both
exactly.
doing, yeah.
And outside of that, it takes everybody to work together in one direction to bring it all to life in such a short period of time. It's just a huge production to pull off, really.
It really
in the
is.
2.5 days we have to bring it to life.
Well, and I always think every year, after I go, I'm like, how in the world are they going to top it next year?
We say that
We
too.
do too.
Well,
We're
good,
right there.
but you do, and you manage to do that every. I mean, I literally, that's like the first thought I think of when I see you all come out at the end. I think, how are they going to top this? And I know you will, because you always do. So talk a little bit about, I think what would be so interesting to share, the process. When does it start? Of course, House of DIFFA this year will be May 16th. Mark that down, buy your tickets now online, diffadallas.org. But tell me about the process and how that comes, how you all kind of come together and when those conversations start.
Well, it starts with the meeting with the chairs, and this year we have an amazing quad of chairs. So they come to us and let us know what the theme is for the year, and they kind of give us some ideas on what they're thinking of. But then they kind of, put it in our hands to kind of mold the show. And come up with different ideas, which we'll then have various meetings with them and update them on what we're doing and make sure we're putting forth everything they want to see happen within the event as well.
We have a lot of fun, the three of us, because then it's the three of us creating together, feeding off of the energy of an idea, building on the idea. And then in my head and his head, we're all thinking of different things to start adding to it. And it builds beautifully. We still like each other a lot.
Obviously.
It's a wonderful process because we trust each other, both personally and artistically, and we're all perfectionists in our areas. And then we'll bounce ideas and we'll go, okay, that's a little crazy, but let's either take it up a notch, down a notch, make it work. If we can't fit it, then we save it for another year. And we go, oh yes, remember that? We can.
Do you
we
ever
can do
say
that
to each
now.
other, no way? That's never going to work. Never do.
Well, we'll say, well, not right for this particular
this,
show.
And the only thing I differ with you is, have we ever really taken it down a notch?
No, well,
we've only
No.
turned it up.
yeah,
Always turn it up.
yes, I agree. Okay, I'll give you that.
We do push the limits, but it's so much fun. We have
It
the best
is.
time.
Yeah, it is.
Brian will be playing music, Denzel will be playing music, and it's just fun.
It is.
It really is a joy.
And Brian has his house shoes on.
Yeah.
He sits in his slippers, and we sit at his board table in his boardroom.
And I
it's
eat
awesome.
chocolate through the
She eats
whole-
chocolate.
And she stays this big,
Exactly.
super fair.
Yeah. So, but
I'm a
no.
little cookie jar.
So is it a process that, starts, I know you meet with the chairs usually in the fall, and then is it something that is, you're meeting bi-weekly, weekly, monthly? I mean, what does that kind of look like, and then how intense does it get kind of towards the end?
Well, it starts, an initial meeting, and then we add another one every week or two, and then just depending on, the timing of what we need to complete, then it does pick up. And it's picking up now, and we'll be full throttle steam ahead until May.
And we'll send each other inspiration shots that we pull together, cull together, and then when we do meet, we'll discuss those. We'll come with music. Each of us will come with different ideas, and kind of start formulating from there on what really does work, what doesn't work, and try to then walk away, come back to the next time, and have a little bit more solidified thoughts for each of the different scenes.
For my team, too, we'll create the bones and our inspiration shots, and words, keywords. But I really do want the hair and makeup teams to run with something. You know, send more pictures to me. Let's talk about it. How does it work? I show it to them. And it gives them also the freedom, but also enjoy to be a part of it, because you're allowing their creative, to come in to the process. That's very important. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can get some great ideas too.
Absolutely.
Through that.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why she's able, especially to continue to enlist the same talent, but even new talent, because again, it allows them to express their creativity in a way they wouldn't normally be able to.
How, when you look back, the last few years that you've all worked together and put the shows together, is there a favorite show or a favorite moment? I know it's like choosing
That's
your
tough.
favorite
That is
child,
tough.
but is there anything that kind of stands out, or over the years that you've done so far?
Do you have a favorite?
Well, a favorite number was 2 years ago, Marilyn.
100%.
Yeah.
Marilyn Monroe, Marilyn Manson, Gwendolyn,
That's one of my
as
top
both,
5 as well.
and that, just
still get
the
chills.
stars aligned
And that
Yeah.
came
in that performance.
And that came to life when the chairs presented us. It was Clinton Tim presented us the theme, and it was alter ego. And the first thing to all of our minds were Gwendolyn, because we had seen her do this Marilyn thing in the body art ball years ago, and we're like, this is it. So enlisted her. We took it to the next level because what we can do production wise with her. And she is just truly an amazing talent, and
She is.
and just owns every moment of it. It's so easy to work with, and she gets such a thrill out of it
Yeah.
too.
She
And,
did.
and she's become a star within the DIFFA
has.
shows.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
last
Oh,
year
yeah.
she was our fembot, and
Amazing.
and
We're working her in to this year. So.
Good. Yeah, we must.
We
The
must.
30th.
Absolutely.
The 30th. And I
You
know
know.
you can't give away too many secrets, but knowing that it is kind of the 30th anniversary, I mean, does that certainly, I'm sure, cross your minds and really help you to reflect on what you've seen over the years and kind of incorporate that into the show?
House of DIFFA is always over the top.
Yeah.
Keywords, extravagant, ornate, anything opulent. We're going with those keywords. Think of all the synonyms that you can for extravaganza.
Flamboyant,
Yes.
Yes.
for sure.
Yes, I know people are already asking, extravaganza, what do I wear? And I'm thinking, how can you be, maybe you're like Rhonda and you wear the sequins, I don't know.
I had 3 emails last week from people saying, what should I wear?
People are already talking about it.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Sequins. No, I don't.
You can never go wrong at a DIFFA event in sequins. But I imagine, it's special, and really touching on what you were saying too, Brian. I mean, when you started this in the 80s, and I'm sure at that time, there was this sense of, is all hope lost? And so to be here now, 2020, and really celebrating what has been achieved, I mean, that must also really affect what you all want to communicate and portray
Absolutely.
at this event.
well, Densil's dear friend is the president of AMFAR.
CEO.
CEO of
Kevin
AMFAR.
Robert Frost.
And that's where we had the statistics that we presented during the show last year, both at the beginning and the end of the show.
Which was so impactful. That was
And-
so
and
amazing.
Exactly, and that just shows how all of this time and effort that everyone and their money that they've been putting towards this cause, whether it's DIFFA or any of the AIDS organizations, has really truly made a difference, and it is good. It does allow us to celebrate a moment like this.
The cure is on the horizon, so we want it to be a celebration. We want that to happen, so we don't have to continue not raising the funds
Sure.
for the ASOs, and that's what is so personal to us, is to be able to go to that award when they award the grants to the ASOs. To me, that is my favorite DIFFA function of the year.
Yeah.
And we all 3 agree with that and love being there for that. So that's
We've
what
all
it's all
lost a
about.
lot of
We
friends.
have.
We've lost a lot of friends. And another layer of that for me is some of the younger people that I've encountered, some that I spoke with at Burgers and Burgundy, and they really don't understand this disease. They were not even here.
Yeah.
They weren't even born yet. And so education is important. a lot of the younger people backstage. You know, we want to tell them also, engage with them, whether that's the initial engagement of giving them the information for backstage. We want them to know, hey, go to the DIFFA website, read about us so that you better understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and who we're doing it for. It's important.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I can tell, I mean, DIFFA's played such a huge role and in your lives for so long, for so many decades now. I mean, this has been a true impact for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh.
I have special moments, though, for each. Don't you?
Oh yeah,
I
we
mean,
didn't finish on that, did
Yeah.
we?
Oh, yeah.
Special
just wanted to bring that back
moments,
up
Yes,
again.
yes.
Go ahead.
No, that definitely is
Yes.
the, and
Marilyn
every
and
time
Marilyn.
Gwendolyn's in there. Finale scenes are always spectacular, you know, because that's where we're going to gear it up to the last scene. I've always loved our finales. I loved all of the LED suits that we had
Yeah.
when that finale, that was 3 years ago?
2 years.
2 years ago.
Two
See,
years ago.
we need each other to remember all of our.
For me, it was Circo Rouge outside of Maryland, Maryland. That was it. But the freak scene, which opened Circo Rouge, to me was because that was as twisted as you could get. and I don't know any other show that we could have opened an event in that manner and been able to continue the show. So I think again, to be able to present that type of entertainment that maybe the audience might not see in a day-to-day or any of the other events that they attend, it's always a goal for us to try to bring something new to the table that maybe they haven't experienced or might not have had the opportunity to experience live.
Yeah.
I remember the boa constrictor. I had to find the right model to hold that snake.
Was that 96?
We had it at Circo Rouge.
Oh, Circo Rouge as
Yeah.
well. Didn't we have one in 96?
Yes,
as
we
well?
had one
Yeah,
there too.
okay.
And what people don't understand is just the layers of what goes on to have more insurance for the snake. The person who's carrying, just little tiny, the minutia, the little tidbits.
Yeah, and I love that because I think that's so interesting to people. So if you could, is there anything really crazy that has happened behind the scenes that we've never really heard about or known about, or a moment that you're like, oh my gosh?
I have plenty technically. Actually, it was 2 years ago. Yes, it was 2 years ago. It was Alter Ego. We lost power.
Oh gosh.
We lost 100% of the power for
my
the
neck just
show
turned red.
at
Turned red.
5:30. The
Okay,
breakers,
that
the
is-
fuses at the Omni, the huge fuses, all blew,
Oh my gosh.
and they didn't have any spares on site.
What happened?
Well, they were able to rush them in, put them in, and we got power within, I think, 45 minutes, believe it or not.
Wow.
They had it all back in, but
was that
yeah.
Tim and Lee? Was that the year that
Yeah,
they?
that
I'm
was
sure
Tim
they
and Lee.
were.
Yeah.
Having a mini
Alter
stroke.
Ego,
Scary.
It was intense.
Yeah.
to
It
say
was
the least.
intense.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you guys top losing power?
No.
I can't
I don't
top
think so.
that. Other than the fog machine, that one time we wouldn't shut off as quick as it needed to. Remember?
was that?
I can't remember. See,
Yeah, we had too much fog. And
We
the
had too
fire
much
marshal
fog
was
and the
going
fire
to-
marshal-
He's hovering over
No, no,
Brian
no,
going,
no.
we're going to cut the show.
We didn't
We're
have
gonna
too
stop."
much fog. That was just a right about.
Well, I know,
The fire
but the
marshal
fire
just
marshal
thought we had
said-
too much fog. Yes. Yes, and then we actually then shot off these CO2 jets that after he had already told us
More
to kill the smoke, and Dave Brown, who's the head of my technical division, he's a super individual. He's trying to keep the fire marshal away from me. And,
Distract him with
yeah,
the
all of,
buffet or
all of a
something.
sudden these geysers, these CO2 geysers go off, and the fire marshal's like, "What are those?" So, anyways, all just fun stuff.
See what you're missing if you haven't been to a DIFFA Dallas House of DIFFA collection
and this 30th is
event.
going to be amazing.
It is.
And there is another show backstage. That's the real show.
Yeah. I know.
Not the which we don't get to see because we're on deck and Rhonda's holding the
got
fort
that.
back there. But it's maddening.
Oh my
You know.
gosh.
It is controlled chaos,
Yeah.
but everyone has their duties and everyone's great. They know exactly what they're supposed to be doing, which model to grab to change, a headpiece. And but it's fun. It really is. We all really enjoy it.
We love it.
I know you do, and we can tell by the beautiful show that you put together every year. So despite the malfunctioning fog machine and the loss of power, I mean, it really is a spectacular production each and every year, and we cannot wait for this year,
Thank you,
for the
Victoria.
30th.
Thank you so much,
So
Victoria.
thank you all so much, Densil and Rhonda and Brian. You guys are amazing, and I just cannot wait to see what you create for this year.
We cannot.
Thank you. I know. and thank you, Victoria, for all that you do for DIFFA.
Oh, it's
We
a
really appreciate
wonderful
it.
organization, and I'm honored to be a part of it.
We're
Truly.
happy that you're on the board, too.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And so we hope to see all of you May 16th. Please buy your tickets. You can buy them now online at diffadallas.org, and you will not want to miss this show. I guarantee it. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you.